Hi, I'm Jessica, and today I want to talk about why Steve and Alex are ridiculously strong. Now, of course, Minecraft was never supposed to be realistic, and in the case of the player figure who is supposed to represent humans, that is definitely not true. Steve is much, much stronger than any human, and not just because of his inventory. You probably already know that Steve can carry really unrealistic amounts of stuff. For example, IBX Toycat has made a great video calculating how much weight Steve can hold using shulker boxes full of enchanted golden apples. I don't want to go into too much detail about that. If you want to find out exactly how much weight Steve can carry, check out IBX Toycat's channel and search for the video. But the basic idea is that golds, being one of the heaviest materials in the game, compacted into stacks upon stacks of golden apples and then into tons and tons of shulker boxes, would be way too heavy for any human to lift, no matter how ridiculously strong they were. Here are 5 other reasons why Steve is definitely not human. First of all, it probably makes sense that Steve can carry all that because he can basically generate infinite force. Redstone in Minecraft is supposed to be the equivalent of electricity, but there's one thing about it that I find extremely odd. At the press of a button, Steve can generate enough redstone current to power any machine provided it's been built correctly. This of course includes flying machines, which can fly forever as long as they don't bump into anything. If Steve can make a flying machine start flying with the press of a button, then that means he has just provided enough power for the flying machine to move forever, aka infinite power. Can you imagine how much force he's punching that button with to provide that infinite power? You don't want to fight this guy, people. Trust me. Second of all, this guy can punch through almost anything with his bare fists. Except for bedrock, which is literally unbreakable, Steve can break down anything given enough time. Even obsidian, which is basically the toughest block in the game. You might argue that any human could punch their way through a material given enough time, but I disagree. You would just hurt yourself. A lot. You'd probably break some bones, but I doubt you'd even manage to put a dent into obsidian. Even wood would take a long time to make a mark in, and I guarantee you'd never get through a whole cubic meter of it. That's just not possible. Not only that, but have you ever thought about how Steve's head can just coexist with blocks? Think about it. Sure, he suffocates, but he can have his head inside stone or terracotta or any other block without dying immediately. Somehow his brain has the ability to mix itself with other materials and still function perfectly, and Steve even comes out perfectly fine. If any human tried mixing their head's molecules with the molecules of a cubic meter of stone, I'm sure they'd end up dead within milliseconds. Steve's brain must be amazingly resilient and somehow magical. Then there's the fact that Steve can survive on any diet. As long as you keep your hunger bar and saturation up, what you eat has no effect on Steve's abilities. You could survive on carrots alone and still run around like crazy despite your extreme protein deficiency. Alternatively, Steve could eat nothing but cake and gain no weight whatsoever, nor have any form of heart condition, nor suffer from any form of vitamin deficiency. His body must be incredibly resilient. But here is the last reason Steve is insanely strong. He can do some of the above things simultaneously, and he can do them all continuously. As long as he has food, he can keep doing all of these things that would be impossible for a human to do in the first place. He can work endlessly, and that's why I think that if Steve existed as a real person, he'd be either an unstoppable supervillain or a fabulous superhero who would solve all the world's problems. Maybe both. But anyway, that's about all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you have other ways that Steve is ridiculously strong or resilient, and I'll see you next week. Bye!